Hello, this is Glenn of Stafford. Has the meeting started yet? Hello, this is Glenn Goldsmith of Stafford County. Has the meeting started yet?
Glenn, can you hear me? Hello? This is Jane Leeds. I'm a public advocate for the disabled. I'm also waiting for the meeting to start.
Okay, we should be good. Can anybody hear us that's attending remotely?
Absolutely. Great. Great. Can we apologize to them? Do we have Glenn Goldsmith on the phone and Jane Leeds?
I'm here.
Oh, did I just hear someone talk?
Yeah, I just heard her.
A little bit quiet.
Great.
All right, so I'm assuming everybody can hear us now, yes?
You're good.
Just give me a hello if you can hear us.
Glenn and Jane, can you hear us?
Yes, I'm Jane. I'm here.
Okay.
Great.
All right.
Great.
You haven't missed too much. All we did was the roll call, the agenda, and the meeting minutes. So now we're going to go into the review of the policy committee meeting.
Great, great. Thank you. The policy committee held a public hearing on a amendment to the Transportation Improvement Program for commuter bus service that will be implemented in the fall of next year. This will be similar to the OmniRide commuter bus that now comes down to the Stafford Borough Park and Ride. There were 3 routes. In fall of 2023, about a year from now, the commuter bus from the Stafford Courthouse Road Park and Ride into to Capitol Hill will, and these will all be, the buses will be, bus service will be bid, so OmniRide and other service providers can bid on these routes. That's fall of 2023. In early 2024, we will have a commuter bus route that will pick up riders at the Spotsylvania interchange, exit 126. It will then go south to Ladysmith to pick up riders at exit 110, and then go on into DC from Ladysmith. Then in the same time frame, early 2024, there will be another commuter bus that will be at the Route 7, US 17 and I-95 Park and Ride, and go to exit 9 of 395, which is the Pentagon. And in fall of 2024, there will be another route that will go to, this is a whole different one, exit 160 to exit 177. I think that's not in our region though, but maybe part of the same package of information.
Alexandria.
Yeah, there you go. We then had a vote for the Safe Streets for All grant application for a safety action plan to be developed, and the policy committee approved a resolution for all 5 of the George Washington Regional Commission localities to be part of that safety action plan. We submitted that application today for that safety action plan funding. It's anticipated we would get the funds next summer, and it would take about a year for the safety action plan to be developed. And it's a comprehensive safety action plan that includes all facets, not only the engineering using crash data to find out where we can reduce fatal and serious injury crashes, but also look at the urban area as far as bicycle and pedestrian crashes, and then involve what we call the 5 E's of safety. Engineering, education, that would be to go into the schools and get active safety programs at all levels of the school. It would involve also encouragement is one of the E's instead of enforcement. That used to be the old E of getting cops out to issue tickets. Now we want to encourage people to drive more lawfully and follow the rules. And it's going to involve bringing in state police, our local law enforcement officers, our EMS and fire folks, and really trying to look at the whole region on a way to, one of the things that we teach is try to get crash response within the golden hour, where you can try to prevent a crash from causing a fatality if they can more quickly get to medical services. There's also an item to add a non-voting member from the Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee to the Policy Committee, similar to the CTAC representative, and that was approved. There were several transportation improvement program, what we call TIP amendments, housekeeping matters of moving funding and making sure all the dollar amounts are in the right year. And then the TIP amendment for the bus service I provided earlier. We also, and lastly, had an update to the policy committee on an effort that staff has undertaken with the localities to update our travel demand model. And we just, that's a process that we do every 5 years or so that looks at putting in the regional model all of the upcoming projects so that when we put in new household data and so forth, that the congestion impact of the projects and the population increases are then modeled to show congestion in the long term. That concludes my report of the policy, August 15th Policy Committee meeting, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. Does anybody have any questions about any of that? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to the next item, public comment. Comments and questions from the members of the public are welcome at this time. There will be another time later after member discussion and action concludes to speak. So if there's any members from the public that would like to speak right now, now's the time.
Yes, Jane Leeds would like to ask a question relating to the
Go
bus
ahead, Jane.
system. Do you hear me?
Yes. We hear you. Go ahead.
Yes.
Okay. The buses that are going to be used, are they equipped to handle disabled riders and service dogs?
We inquired, Jane, of the OmniRide folks, and actually the gentleman offered to give you and Phoenix a ride on their OmniRide buses. They have a place in the front for, and as you correctly pointed out, there is a place in the front of the buses for storage of wheelchairs and to wheelchair dependent individuals. And that is the area where there is room for a disabled individual and the service dog. If that area is filled with wheelchair-dependent individuals, that then would not be available. And as you correctly pointed out to me, they would not want, the service dog in the aisle. But he indicated that it's very rare that there are wheelchair-dependent individuals that fill that area. And he did actually invite you and Phoenix to come and take a ride up to the Stafford Borough lot sometime. And maybe Coley and I can arrange to get you transportation up there. And the gentleman was very, very proud of their buses, that it was the best they could do as far as accessibility.
Thank you. The buses, are they leaning buses or are they use lifts?
They use lifts, I believe.
For people who are in wheelchairs.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, is there anybody else online that would like to make any public comment at this time?
I'm sorry,
All
I
right,
didn't
hearing
hear
none, we'll
the
move on to the next
response of
item.
whether it was, hello? I didn't think I got a response
Yes,
of whether it was a leaning bus or whether it was a lift.
It's a lift bus and not a leaning bus.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I did not get a response to my question.
That's all right.
We also had public comments that were sent ahead of time.
Okay.
So we get great info from Jane, and she sent this to us, and so it's in your agenda packet. She sent some great links to light rail systems in the cities in USA and provided data, noting the top 10 systems given only 2 cities on the East Coast, Boston and Philadelphia. And if you have any doubts about ridership, this should dispel them. Just look at the numbers. Americans are ready, willing, and want this kind of transportation. One of the smaller systems Jane found is in Virginia city of Norfolk. Do y'all say that?
Just not Norfolk. The only unacceptable pronunciation.
So I went looking to see what it was created, and here's what Jane found. It is, by the way, the first light rail system built in the Commonwealth, and that link is provided below as well. Again, y'all received this. And so I'll just continue reading her comments. Keep in mind the article I sent earlier in my attempt to enlighten all of you, CTAC, to the value of planning, designing, and building this kind of system. The article is in the Washington Post back in 1981 about how the first 17 miles of track was laid without federal assistance. Then look at the ridership numbers on the grid. They have more cars people than Fredericksburg and Norfolk is about twice Pennsylvania County's size, but our growth rate, 16.1%, is the highest in the Commonwealth. Have a look at their numbers and imagine a comparison ratio of about half the cars here not on the road if there was a light rail system. If we are able to link the entire central region with the light rail system, that number would grow exponentially. It takes time and money to plan, design, and build the system. It is better to designate those areas in which to build sooner than later to avoid expensive litigation and the moving of homes, businesses to accommodate the public's need for a viable, reliable, accessible, and affordable system. I will skip on to the next comment, except to say, if nothing else, we should give a nudge to the stakeholders that they need to hire a company to do this job if CTAC isn't up to doing it. I mean, no disrespect to any of the CTAC members or interested parties, but this project is too important to just casually cast off saying there isn't any money. Isn't that what the infrastructure bill of 2021 funding is all about? The state of California is vying for it in a big way because they already know the value of adding light rail systems to other parts of the state other than their major cities. Are we going to sit on our hands and let them? Thank you so much, Jane, for that awesome information and comments. And then I wanted to point out that where's this next comment? Oh, okay, I didn't add it to. Maybe I did.
We received it after, about the Healthy Generations notice about the conference or whatever.
Oh, right. Well, also, just so y'all are aware, oh no, this is in correspondence.
Okay.
Just kidding.
Okay. You'll have more when you get to correspondence, okay.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, so let's move on to old business, VDOT report a problem.
This is a standing item. If anyone has used the VDOT report a problem,
We cannot hear you any longer.
Hello, we've lost our connection. This is Jane. The WebEx connection is gone. We've also lost the stream tax.
Jane, I can't hear either. This is the captioner. That's why there's nothing in stream.
No, okay. Thank you. Yeah, I don't have anything either. Do you have a number to contact them?
Let me check.
Can people hear us online?
Yes, I can hear you. This is Jane.
Great.
Not sure what happened there, but we lost y'all for a second, but now you're back.
Great. Okay, maybe let's go back to that last slide because I think we weren't audio. This is the map that shows the VDOT outer connector proposals that go through Stafford County, starting at Centerport Parkway and I-95, crosses the Rappahannock River, and stops at US 17 in Spotsylvania County. However, although it's in the Stafford County plan, Spotsylvania's plan does not have this in their plan currently. The other proposals, again, part of the VDOT outer connector proposal in Stafford County, they come to the Rappahannock River. The part in Spotsylvania is not in the Spotsylvania plan. Next slide. The CTAC proposal that has been put forward on the eastern side is shown on this slide and is a new route from I-95. Again, it pretty much mirrors the VDOT route, but stops at White Oak Road, primary route 218. From that point, it then uses existing roads to get traffic down to Port Conway and Port Royal into and use US 301 to cross the Rappahannock River and avoid other impacts other than the gold yellow line shown down to 218. The idea CTAC has proposed is an improved two-lane road. Next slide, please. This is the VDOT outer connector that you saw in the earlier slide. And what you'll see on the next slide as far as the western alignment closely follows this until we get to this point. And then the CTAC proposal goes straight up to 17 and not crossing here through Stafford County.
A question?
Yes.
Why did you refer to that as the VDOT outer connector?
That is, if we go back to that earlier slide.
I would have called it the David Ross outer connector. That's where the idea came from.
The one that goes to Lake of the Woods was his
Okay, very good. Okay, and let's go down again to that slide. And here are the two new proposals shown on the same slide. The CTAC proposal, again, is an improved 2-lane and merely connecting from Route 3 up to US 17. Next slide. This is just another larger view of the eastern proposal. Next slide. Another zoom in of the western proposal. Next slide. The idea, members of CTAC, the CTAC, former CTAC chair has met with King George County, Orange County, Culpeper County, and Orange County is in favor of the proposal. Culpeper County does not wish to have access to the proposal, and so the idea is a limited access easement when you cross the Rapidan River all the way up to US 17 to prevent driveways and access points, and then to bridge over the 3 roads, Ely's Ford Road, Richards Ferry Road, and a private road there. Culpeper County is considering the idea at this time. Next slide. That just explains in the Code of Virginia what a limited access highway easement means, and it can be reversed should the locality decide to do so in the future. Next slide. This is the Stafford County Comprehensive Plan concept road that I referred to earlier, and these are the dashed lines are the alignments, again, that stop at the Rappahannock River, Spotsylvania. The proposal comes around to Rappahannock River there, and is currently what's in their plan. Also on this slide, there are ideas that you'll see in the next slide about connecting the area of Truslow Road and Plantation Drive in a more direct manner up to Centerport Parkway. Next slide. And this is from the Stafford County Comprehensive Plan as well. And we have a Centerport Parkway extension south to Enon Road, number 13. That's this line here. And then shown on this slide, the Berea Parkway, Centerport Parkway to Warrenton Road, and that is this line here. Again, a portion of that plan that you saw earlier in a clearer view from Stafford County. Next slide, please. We have another proposal from our CTAC current chair, an idea to, at Plantation Drive and Truslow Road, an idea to take Plantation Drive extended directly up to Centerport Parkway, again with the limited access right-of-way shown to avoid connections. It's an idea. Next slide. This is the last slide, completed actions. Our former chair has met with the jurisdictions. We modified the concepts to incorporate feedback from those counties. He met with Spotsylvania planners, and then in the last meeting, the former chair proposed an idea that a companion project with the Western Connector be a riparian restoration project along the Rappahannock River to improve water quality. And we pointed out that the CTAC proposals are alternatives to concept roads that are currently in Stafford County's comprehensive plan. Yes, Rupert?
What needs to be restored?
The riparian easement along the Rappahannock River, I think it's twofold. One is to prevent sewer outfalls from being in the river, but also to allow erosion improvements along there. We have a lot of erosion in those bluffs, those sandy bluffs on the river, and so anything you can do to improve and to reduce that erosion is the idea of a riparian restoration project. You plant native vegetation. Riparian restoration projects try to improve sinuosity, and basically it's an engineered project. You put some boulders and plants and try to prevent that erosion from fouling the drinking water and improve the environment for valuable habitat. When I had a project in the city of Virginia Beach, we had to sign with the Army Corps of Engineers that we would hand sprig Spartina alterniflora, but if the Phragmites were to invade, we committed to remove the Phragmites. Basically, it's like bamboo. So when you do a mitigation or restoration project, you want to get the good vegetation in, and you commit to take the bad vegetation out that has a tendency to not have any life-giving properties to it.
Thanks.
That concludes my presentation.
All right, thank you very much. So just a bit of a crash course on a lot of the initiatives that have been going on at CTAC for the past year or so. So I wanted to make sure everybody was up to date on that. Stafford County Board of Supervisors act.
Question.
Yes, go ahead.
So this is Dave McLaughlin. So that's the end of the discussion, I mean, with all that happened in Stafford, and or should we discuss that?
No. So that's the next thing.
Action. Oh, okay. Yeah. Thank you. Gotcha.
That was not going to go unaddressed.
Okay.
Yeah, all right. The supervisor, you go ahead, Rupert.
What wasn't mentioned, and for those that haven't spent a lot of time around here, I think it should have been, was that a lot of these options that you saw for beltway connector, outer connectors, whatever you want to call them, were brought up many years ago. Corridor 1 was the closest into the city, and it gave you the most congestion relief, but was the most expensive. Corridor 3, as I recall, a little bit further out, gave you less congestion relief and was less expensive, so it gave you the most congestion relief for the buck. Corridor 5, I'm getting them backwards. Corridor 5 was the one closest to the city. Corridor 3 is, as I mentioned, Corridor 1 was way far out, and it gave very little congestion relief, but it cost the least, and it was very popular with the real estate developers. So it kind of got the stamp of approval back then, but the localities saw that it would be damaging, to the environment and cause a lot of suburban sprawl, so they nixed it. In the meantime, we've essentially built Corridor 5, which is one closest into the city, which involves new bridges right there next to the old bridges. Yeah. And so basically the state has gone ahead and sprung the money for one of those options. So they might not be strongly inclined to spring money for another big buck item.
Thanks, Rupert.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Because you're right, the parallel bridges are option 5 from that original, right? Because I think that's, the collector distributor bridges, right. All right.
All right, on August 16th, the Stafford County Board of Supervisors made a motion to remove Mr. Sharpenberg from representing the county on the Stafford County, as Stafford County's representative on CTAC. When we received that letter and notice, it then prompted the Matt Rowe as vice chair at that time to be the CTAC chair.
Questions?
Who invited Matt to be the CTAC chair?
As vice chair, yeah. He automatically moved up to be chair.
So I remember meeting last time and Hank indicating some issue with the Stafford County Board of Supervisors. Apparently the Board of Supervisor person got his way, or you stepped down? I did not step down.
No, from what I understand, it was a Board of Supervisors action. It wasn't the individual supervisor, it was an entire board action.
That's not correct.
Okay, I thought it was,
3 of the board members did not participate in the vote, so the remaining 4 voted.
okay,
Unanimous
Among the 4, yes.
but that still qualifies as a quorum in Stafford County.
This is the part where we all get nominated by a board of supervisor, whichever county we're in. You had a letter at some point in time, and they just, rescinded the letter?
That's
as
correct.
the action? For some discrepancy, I don't think you went into detail last meeting, I'm not asking you to do it now if you feel comfortable, but.
Well, as a member of the public, I would have to do that in a different
Right.
venue, yeah.
Or during public comment later on tonight. Right, okay.
Any other questions about that?
So, do we need to take action for vice chair?
We do need to do that. That's going to be another item later on in the agenda.
Yeah.
But at the meeting that was relevant to not the personnel issue, but this project that we're talking about, there was a discussion about having a letter go from the Stafford, and you guys saw, some of you saw that meeting, go from Stafford saying, hey, we would like FAMPO to do research or actually a study. One of the supervisors, maybe a couple of them, said, hey, we don't have enough information. We'd like to delay that until September. So the meeting that was just a few days ago, they actually talked quite a bit about it. In my opinion, I'll say 3 things. I'll say, first of all, Ian happened to be there, and they asked him some direct questions, and he did a marvelous job of representing FAMPO and discussing and answering the questions without being an official representative of FAMPO. He made a good point of that. But it was very, very helpful. He did a good job. And he made a very important point, I thought, and it was kind of like the older outer connectors was kind of like, let's do a 295 like we have around Richmond, do it around the urban area. And I will admit my early understanding of the issue was that, and I was not a big fan of that. And Ian characterizes, we're not trying to avoid urban areas, we're actually trying to connect urban areas. And I think that's a significant difference, and it resonates with me. So, anyway, he did a good job on that. It was obvious that some of the supervisors
It looked like we've lost contact again.
I should say, not even proposal. I mean, can we just more adapt Stafford's comprehensive plan approach, and then there would be less resistance? I'm assuming there's resistance from what I heard within Stafford.
Yeah, and Becky or Ian, please correct me if I'm wrong, but right now, the 2 proposals for any sort of bypass around the city, leaving Stafford to go south of the river, is the eastern bypass and the western bypass. The one is the Berea Parkway, which I believe in the comprehensive plan goes beyond Warrenton Road and into Spotsylvania. And then you have the eastern one that I think, as you were saying, would go as far as the river, but Spotsylvania doesn't have a connection. It would be there at like Belvedere Plantation, something like that. Do I have that right?
Yes, both of the Stafford proposals terminate at the Rappahannock River, and on the other side of the river in Spotsylvania County, there's a lot of development, a lot of existing homes. So that's the difference. The alternative is to take the one that comes by Rocky Pen Reservoir and points into River Road and Tuning Drive. All that area between Route 3 and the Rappahannock River is very developed. So the idea is an alternative to take it out, to just connect Route 3 to Route 17 where there are no houses today.
Yeah, and I remember at one point the plan was for the Berea Parkway to cross the river and it would meet up at Route 3 and Road. That was one of the original proposals. And I know that they really can't do, they've already developed a lot of that area.
I'm trying to separate the original proposals and the studies from 1990. I'm saying Stafford has a comprehensive plan.
Yeah, and those two things, well,
so how much of how much of that could we incorporate in our concept, therefore would make it, apparently, I mean, if it's in the comprehensive plan, to me, it seems like that would make it more palatable to Stafford County if we're using some large proportion of that plan, or is it totally different?
We as in CTAC?
Yeah, I mean, this is we've come up with a concept, this is our concept, so.
I can show them.
I don't recall that we have talked about any endorsement of the Berea Parkway. Because I don't think that we've made any recommendation for the Berea Parkway, which is the only one that I know of in their comprehensive plan that does go towards the river.
That's what I'm saying, maybe, I mean, are we butting our head against the wall if we don't adopt or try and incorporate at least a lot of what's in their comprehensive plan?
Right.
It just seems.
And I don't even know if this study is necessarily going to be focusing on what's in their comprehensive plan, trying to figure out if that is what they want to do, or if there's an alternative that they are also seeking more information. I don't have that information.
Have we received the letter? Yeah. The actual letter?
The letter arrived this afternoon, I forget.
I mean, I assume it's pretty, hey, we want to hear different options and different things.
Yeah,
okay.
It's to investigate options.
Did it
funding and other things.
Did it narrow down like an alignment, a corridor, anything like that?
Yeah.
It was very.
Close to west of I-95, I think. It doesn't get specific about which part of.
So anything between I-95 and Orange. So it could be anything.
So this will be ongoing discussions, and definitely should we discuss this again in the next meeting and see where we're going, and we'll know more. And
certainly if there's action or anything like that, I mean, yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
Great. Okay, the FAMPO interregional multimodal, Mr. Ollis will work with Coley on.
The East-West study you've all heard about multiple times, and what is going to happen now for the colleagues who can just go back to the agenda first. Click on that first link, introduction. There you go. So just scroll down. The study is divided into two phases. The first phase was looking at the setup. What are we looking for? What are the problems? And then looking at preliminary transit solutions and connections to transit. The second phase reviewed phase one and then looked at roadways, identifying 13 roadway corridors and bike and pedestrian connections. Phase one is complete. The final report in a draft form is in your pack. Phase two is in process. Next slide. So those are the number of projects that are in the East-West study. 13 roadway corridors that are being studied. 7 of those we'd like to get to funding readiness. Looking at high-level access points to I-95 in the future that we might need to do. And I'm going to say the study looks at a time horizon from now to 2030. It's quite a long period of time. And what we would need to do before 2050 to deal with accessibility and congestion concerns. Then there are 4 bike paths, multi-use paths. Then there's a transit section, which Fred Transit asked us to reduce to just a limited number of projects because they have a transit strategic plan. So we've only looked at two main projects, which are a high-capacity transit trunk route or a BRT lifestyle bus, which is just frequent, comes every 15 minutes, and a new transit transfer center in Stafford for the downtown Stafford Center. So those are the projects that we asked to look at. Next slide. BRT? Bus rapid transit. It's a high-capacity, more rapid bus than normal. So the phase one report really just summarizes the technical memos which your representatives on the stakeholder group have seen multiple times, something new in there. The phase two transit report is now available from VHB, which is in your pack, and that is going to the policy committee next week. Hopefully they will ask us to do a public comment period, and then we will ask the public generally, obviously all of our committee members in our four committees, to give their input as to those projects. The phase two roadway study is in process. We saw some initial preliminary ideas shared with the stakeholder group at their last meeting. Then we have the engineering phase, which will come at the end. Once FAMPO has decided which projects it wants to get ready for funding, those will undergo some preliminary engineering, some cost estimates, drawings that need to be done for funding applications and so on. So that's where the study is. So the consultant. Yeah. Okay, those are those slides. So Tony, now if you can just go to the agenda and look down. So the draft one report is in your pack. We're not asking for public comment outside of FAMPO for that, mainly because that doesn't make final recommendations on anything. It's the setup. What are the existing conditions? What is the background? Which corridors do we want the consultants to study? And then some preliminary investigations of transit routes and the request of the list of projects that we want the consultant to investigate. So nothing is final in that report in terms of recommendations. It's all the background stuff. Second, the point 3, B3 on your agenda is the phase 2 transit report, and that's the one we're asking the public, asking the policy committee to send out for public comment, because it does make recommendations on transit and some bike care projects that lead you to transit, and we do want public comment on those and your input. So if Tony can switch now to the other set of slides, there essentially are 4 projects in that long report. Please do read the report, but I'm just going to give you some highlights because I don't want to go through the entire report for you tonight. It'll be a long meeting. So the first one is this rapid bus, right? And the route that the consultant is proposing has 2 phases. And the phase 1 starts on the left of your screen there. There's the yellow gold color at the park and ride lot on
Old Salem Church Road.
Old Salem Church Road, and it goes through the Spotsylvania Town Center. There's a stop there. It goes up through Central Park, and then follows down Cowan Boulevard, eventually down to the hospital, then back up to Route 1 to the Brent Transit Center on Route 1, then down one of the existing bus routes into the city, down William Street, and then up to this train station right outside the window here, and then back down Caroline Street, back up William Street eventually, and all the way back again. That's phase 1 that they're proposing. It shows that we will have good ridership on it. The bus would come every 15 minutes. We have new bus stops or stations with level boarding, so even a wheelchair can just ride right into the bus without needing a lift or a bus to kneel. It's designed that we could have level boarding. Phase 2 would then be to go up further into Spotsylvania down Route 3 to the large VDOT park and ride lot on the corner of Gordon Road and Route 3, and that section would be a phase 2, which would be built later. There are a couple of other items I just need to point out on the map. They're proposing this section here, just this short section, to have a center running lane on Route 3 to get the buses in high traffic, to bypass the traffic to get quicker to the other end. And what they call one queue jump intersection there and a couple of bus priority intersections. And that's the kind of way that you use traffic lights to speed up the ability of the bus to travel. So if the traffic light is about to turn green and there's a bus close by coming, the traffic light won't turn green, won't turn red. It'll stay green a little longer to allow the bus to get through, so that your bus doesn't stop at every non-traffic light and become a very slow bus. The idea with this is to try and make the buses go from end to end quicker than an existing bus.
Question? Oh, go ahead.
Bus stops, buses, or those where the traffic lights go? You're talking about.
So those bus indications are where stops will be.
Also, so the idea here would be sort of like a hybrid system like the Pulse down in Richmond, where you've got a mix of dedicated bus lanes, but also buses just in the regular traffic lanes.
In most cases, the bus would be in regular traffic, but in Central Park, there would be some queue dumping and some priority intersections where the traffic light would assist the bus to get through, and then one section of dedicated bus lane on Route 3, because that's where the highest traffic volume is during the peak period.
Okay.
That's a proposal, say a first proposal. If you can then scroll down to that next set of pages. All of this is in great detail in the report. I'm just giving you a few high-level pointers. The study then looked at where in Stafford do you need to have a transit transfer center? Because we have such a transit transfer center at Pennsylvania, at what hill is it? I forget the name of the location. But anyway, the point is that the buses congregate there. So if the bus route doesn't suit you, you can go to that point where there's a transfer center, get off that bus, get on a different bus, and go to where you need to go. A connection point. And the proposal here is to look at the future, right? If Stafford downtown does develop, if you don't allocate a piece of land now to build a bus transfer center, by the time you come to needing to build one, you will then have very expensive land because developers will have bought it up and developed it, and it's very hard to convince people to spend a huge amount of money to put in a bus station. It then becomes a big issue. So it's trying to anticipate the future, where we have commuter buses coming on the I-95, needing to stop there to pick up folks, and where the local freight buses need to connect with the commuter buses, and so we need a center. So they look at various locations. The proposal is to keep the park and ride lot over here, the bus station in there, but then for local people to get on and off to still have stops over there. So this would be bus transfer center, so that buses coming on I-95 either north to DC or south to our jurisdictions could come in here, drop folks off, and then get on a freight bus and go to another destination that they wish to go to. So the commuter bus tries to stay on the I-95 and not deviate too far from the I-95. So that's the second proposal.
And that's on 140?
Yeah, that's on, well, that's the road at the bottom, there's Hospital Boulevard, the one at the top is Courthouse Road.
It's exit one.
Yeah.
What's the one in the middle? Is that something that hasn't developed yet?
So there is a roadway there, I believe, but there's no development. It's still greenfield development. But this is that background shading that you can see behind is the plan for Stafford Downtown in the comprehensive plan of the county. That's the proposal they have for Stafford Downtown. And so superimposed over that are the potential sites for a bus station. They considered 4 different sites. This is the existing park and ride, so building a facility here, and these different sites. This is near the courthouse area itself. And where likely bus stops would be for the Fred connector buses. So at the hospital is a primary place where you need the bus to call in. But how do you get to a commuter bus if you want to go to DC, right?
May I ask a question real quick? This is Matt, by the way. So there was an article that came out recently that said that downtown Stafford was being put on hold or canceled, or there was a board action by Stafford that made some sort of alteration to the plan? Do we know what the nature of that was and how that can affect future?
So that happened in the last 2 weeks.
Right.
Very recent.
Yep.
So this study has been going for a year and a bit.
Sure.
Right? So this is a long time in coming. The details of that decision, I don't know. My understanding is that the decision was to review the plan that Stafford has for their downtown area. I don't think they decided, in other words, they didn't present a conclusion. They presented let's just stop. We want to review the plan. So what that review will consist of, I don't know. It's up to the county to deal with that. We need to know about land use planning. We don't get involved in it because it's not, FAMPO has no jurisdiction on zoning and land use planning. The next one, the next two are the two bicycle projects that lead to, the drawing on the right, the photograph on the right is of a transit center that is roughly the size of what is being proposed. It would accommodate 6 buses, plus bathroom, toilets, and bathroom facilities, and a place where you can engage an information center officer, that kind of thing. The next 2 projects are both bike projects, and they both are to get bicycles to the train station. So the first one, can't see that very well from here. Could you scroll up perhaps to the previous slide? Just one slide up there. So down that purple star in the bottom there, that is the Brook Road train station, the VRE station, and Halifax station. Actually, no, I think it's only a few people there. And the top corner is the downtown Stafford area of the hospital that's developing and so on. How do you get from this potential downtown and from the hospital to the train station? We proposed a bike and pedestrian park, and we looked at those 2 blue options as potential options. Phase 1 said, well, could you study these areas and see what would be a good idea for such a park? And the next slide, if you scroll down one, the one that's difficult to see on the screen, the proposed alignment is there, that green line that you can see there, it's in the presentation that's in your pack. So they're proposing that alignment that goes through a park, and there's a Civil War memorial, I believe, there as well. And that's where it's proposed, the Stafford Civil War Park, people have to pass through. But it's a bike path before the bike. The next one is the Spotsylvania bike path to the train station. That is an attempt to connect the areas around Germanic College and Germanic College to the Spotsylvania train station. So the Germanic Community College is over here, and this is US 17, if you know the area. The idea is to bring a bike path from Germanic College down to US 17 and across. Now here you would cross the train line to get into the VRE station. It also includes a link north to try and get the East Coast Greenway, which we'll hear a lot about if you go to the Bike and Pedestrian Committee, how to get that also to the train station. So the idea is to try and bring people from the train station to the Germanic College and neighborhoods around here, and then in reverse, bring people from those areas to the train station, students who don't have a car, and so on. Currently, there isn't even a freight bus that stops at the train station, or the VRE train station. So those are the 4 main projects in the transit report. I can't tonight go through page after page document, but it is linked to the agenda that you were emailed, and if you click on those links, you can, at your leisure, go through the entire pack of reports. So those are the ones. I think that's all from me on that.
Dave.
It's Dave McLaughlin. Just real quick, going back to your question about Stafford, the center there. So that was at the Tuesday meeting at the Stafford, and it's discussed in the Sunday Freelance Star. So if anyone wants to read a little short discussion about what they're talking about on Stafford County, because it does intertwine with where where would you best put your center, your bus center, that sort of stuff. That's all. So there is some.
Yeah, and I understand that, the first phase of this did not take that into account because it was a recent action. I was just curious if you knew what kind of impact might be coming off.
These projects were decided, you know, a year ago.
Right.
We only heard about this last week. So
Gotcha.
we don't know what the proposal will be.
And the park and ride lot exists today at Courthouse Road Interchange, so there's not like there's a conflict with the pause of the downtown to this idea.
That was built as a part of the exit 140 reconfiguration.
Yeah. That's still the home for the recommendation. There should be no conflict there.
Great. Any other questions about any of that? All right. VCR Trail.
Okay. I'm going to take that along.
Yes, I have a question. This is
Go
Jane
ahead.
Reed.
Go, Jane.
What about the access for those who discusses mostly the park and ride, so those are drivers. What about for those who arrive either riding in wheelchairs or with a service dog? Are there audible signals to help them cross the street safely, or safe zones in the parking lot so they're not run over by distracted drivers getting to the point of departure? What are the dynamics there? What are they putting in place there to ensure the safety and access of those who are not drivers?
Jay, the answer to that question is that this study recommends the route. It has not yet got the engineering phase, which is right at the end, where they start to talk about technicalities such as, do we need a traffic light? Do we need a wheelchair ramp? Do we need all of that stuff? That's an engineering question which happens in the last phase of this. So these are the proposals as to where to put things that are, you know, bike paths and bus stations and routes for a bus. The engineering phase at the end will get into the more detailed questions that you're asking. So the answer is I can't answer you yes. I don't know yet. The other thing that I would say is that something we've said before in this committee, that VDOT's current standards require things to be accessible that are built from now on. So if this does get built, if it gets funded, when it is constructed, it will need to have things like wheelchair ramps, it will need to have traffic lights, it will need to have crossings. The question of audible signals is, I don't think, yet required in the United States that every traffic light needs to have audible signals. So I don't think that particular part of your question is covered yet formally in the US as a policy issue. It's a question of we need to ask for that. And so I think we could do that at the engineering phase of the study.
And how about contiguous sidewalks for those who that would be part of the plan, I would presume?
Hold on.
So for access from other areas.
Dave is making a point of order. Dave.
Jane is no longer a member of CTAC, correct?
Correct.
So
They said that there were questions. I didn't know that it was related to only board members.
Because
okay.
If you did that, you opened the floodgates.
I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon.
So,
okay,
thank you.
We're going to move on to the VCR trail. But Jane, if you have any other questions about anything, we do have the next public comment period coming up soon.
Or email.
Okay.
Yes. VCR trail.
Great. I'll just kind of let you kind of gently scroll down, and we'll get to the first slide that has the tunnel picture. This is a study that's been underway with Baker Engineering, and the scope of the study was to examine grade-separated crossings of the VCR Trail, Virginia Central Railway Trail, that goes from the city of Fredericksburg actually out to the VCR Trail, goes all the way out to the Orange County line. It was the old rail trail that went to Orange County, or to the town of Orange. There were 3 crossings of major arterials that this study said, because this has such use and connectivity between Fredericksburg, city of Fredericksburg, and Spotsylvania County. There were 3 major roadways that now are either at grade or completely interrupt the continuity of the trail. One is at the crossing at Lafayette Boulevard and the Blue-Gray Parkway, Route 3, which is now a pedestrian control at grade crossing that takes folks across. The other location is at US 1, where the VCR trail crosses that area. And those are current at-grade crossings where people can cross and traffic is stopped by a light. The major interruption is I-95. VCR trail follows Hazel Run, and so the study was specifically looking at how can we do grade separation at those locations. And so this presentation, I'm going to show you the recommended selection of the Technical Advisory Committee. And let's scroll down. There should be a photo of a tunnel.
Oh, yeah.
That was up. Well, there's that, and there was the culvert a few slides up.
Yeah, we'll stay here. I'm going to just say here's what was selected by the Technical Advisory Committee. So the recommendation, there were two options to cross I-95. One was a bridge, and one is a tunnel sized for not to be 2 or 4 lanes of traffic, but to get bicyclists and pedestrians through them. And the recommendation of the Technical Advisory Committee is the tunnel option. At where Hazel Run crosses I-95, the interstate itself is about 70 vertical feet above that point, and then so a bridge would have to take people from the ground level at Hazel Run and go up at least 70 feet and maybe even another 50 feet more using switchbacks. So the tunnel option technology has brought the cost down to a very reasonable level, and so the tunnel option was chosen there. And let's scroll down, kind of winging it here to see the Route 1. That's two arrow crossing, and that's great right there. Right now at US 1 near Kings Mill Drive is the current grade crossing, and the Technical Advisory Committee approved a combination of things there. Let's go down, and here's the existing crossing there at Kings Mill Drive. As you all can imagine, US 1, for folks to go all the way across here, this light is really disruptive to the heavy flow of traffic, and it takes a while to get across. And so the recommendation here is a combination of things. You saw on the previous slide, there's a mast arm traffic signal system there, and also overhead power poles. So one idea is to eliminate the mast arm traffic signal system with an alternative intersection where we might consider traffic needing to a Michigan left, I think is what Matt calls it, where if this were it's actually a T intersection there. We don't have a 4-way intersection. But an idea where traffic, that median crossover would be closed and traffic would go past that point, make a U-turn, and this is the large U-turn radius that would even accommodate tractor trailers to come back. All that is proposal that the recommendation of TAC was to look at a bridge across this point, along with the idea of eliminating the traffic signal through an alternative intersection.
Oh,
yes,
where's the trail in this picture?
It would be in concept.
These are both just examples.
Yeah.
Not rendering.
This is in concept. This is route, and the trail of the bridge here in this example. And you would eliminate the mast arm poles with that.
Did you say a bridge?
Yes, the recommendation of TAC is for the trail to be on switchback and cross Route 1 in an aerial.
Well, if they're going to have a bridge, why is it relevant what the roadway is, what kind of intersection it is?
Good question. It's because with the current, and let's go back to that slide that shows the traffic signal. It's these structures that the bridge would have to cross. In addition to crossing Route 1 in traffic, you have, the idea was to potentially, this is also very low volume road, so and it might even be that traffic signal was installed for the trail.
Yeah, it was only installed because of the trail. That's when the traffic light got installed there.
Yeah. So there are options, and we'll just keep it right on this slide. And I think those alternative intersections really don't depict what the idea is. The idea is you make this a solid median all the way across here. No seagull, no left turn lane. The pictures they have there are from VDOT's site. So the idea of a true R-cut in this case is this would be a median crossover. You'd eliminate this left turn lane altogether, and traffic would overshoot the intersection, and there would be a left turn storage lane and then a big bulb that they would then come back. You see these in North Carolina on Route 1. This alternative intersection is used often in North Carolina. And it's just the idea is that we do have an extra height issue here and these overhead power poles that the low volume level.
Question.
Yeah.
Was there a problem with this intersection before the trail and the lights were installed? I'm not aware of any problems, so why not just get rid of the lights, build a bridge, and restore the property restore the road to the way it was?
Well, I know there's always an effort to get rid of left turn lanes, especially crossing heavy volume arterials.
There wasn't any problem before.
I'm just saying what they usually try to do in these kind of situations. Not to say that you're not right about this, because I don't personally know if
you've got extra money, you're trying to find a way to spend it. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
I'm sure that will be considered, to just eliminate it, leave the left turn lane there, and then let that left turn gap go, and then have a bridge that would bridge over it. Certainly that'll be an idea that's looked at, particularly since the purpose of the light was just to stop traffic. Absolutely, they'll look at that.
There's a bunch of apartments and townhouses over there on Kings Mill, back in the back, so that generates quite a bit of traffic coming in and out of there.
Yeah,
Left turns are coming.
with no signal at all,
Requirement.
you would then have a potential for a crash.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and
That makes sense.
So if they take away the median crossover, if they take away the lights and take away the median crossover, then the people at Kings Mill are gonna, if they wanna go left at this light towards Fredericksburg, they're gonna have to take a right and go all the way down to Twin Ridge Drive and make it.
Yeah, there'll be a constructor, go to that next slide.
If they wanna get in here coming from the south, they're gonna have to go down to that next light. What's the name of the development?
Beverly Lane, yeah.
You'll actually build a new dedicated left with.
No, Idlewild, or
It wouldn't be dependent on another street. They would, have that opportunity. We would build that.
Yeah, I don't know. Idlewild Boulevard is pretty close to that, so they might just have
They'd have to turn at Idlewild and come back.
Yeah, if there's an existing, and that works.
I think the traffic in and out of that Kings Mill triggers that light a lot more than people walking the VCR.
Yeah. Stuff to consider.
That makes sense.
Great. And we had a third one. That is the, Route 3. We'll keep going.
There it is.
We looked at some options. This is the Blue Grape Parkway, or Primary Route 3, Lafayette Boulevard. The current trail is this blue line. And what the TAC recommended, there were a couple of alternatives here. One included a bridge right at the existing crossing in red, and then another option for a bridge because it's an undeveloped parcel. So the TAC recommended to study this whole area to look at the best location for a bridge crossing. They looked at another option further west, but the grade here is the hill. And so keeping things down here keeps things at grade and avoids a safety issue for the cyclist coming down or up a grade. One of the opportunities further on was the bridge at Hazel Run and so forth. So
what is this recommendation right here? Is this?
It would be a bridge over 3.
It is a bridge there.
Either here at the existing location or potentially within this band, within this range where Coley has the cursor, because grade-wise, this is fairly level and flat.
I remembered that this was a sort of a bone of contention with City Council, because on that one lot right there at the corner of Alum Spring and Lafayette, there was a proposed Royal Farms, and I know that there was opposition to having the Royal Farms there with the VCR trail going in front of it, because there would be cars traveling over the VCR trail. There would be mixing of traffic. So then they were talking about putting the bridge farther down, but I knew that the expense of that bridge was also going to be something that would be a hard pill to swallow. So this is a new.
Yeah, so this, putting it here and extending the trail, part of the cost consideration is getting the trail up to that location. Since this is undeveloped, this was a nice opportunity to bring the trail here and leave the parcel developable, and also then the trail you'd eliminate this conflict that you just mentioned, Matt.
Right.
I think that was part of the wisdom of this idea.
Okay.
Dave McLaughlin, in this analysis, is there anywhere where there's usage data that's been projected at Route 1, Route 3, and 95? I mean,
in a national sense.
Does the bridges to nowhere?
Ian, do you have comments on the trail usage?
So the two sides of the trail, the one in the city of Fredericksburg and the one in Pennsylvania, in 2018, a count was last done, and the total it's about 95 or 98,000 people taking trips on the trail per year, so just shy of 100,000. We did some rough estimates based on the growth of the population that would grow the trail's usage to about 200,000 people by 2050, I believe. I'm just doing this from memory, so don't quote me in the newspaper or something. I'm just trying to do this from memory. The additional piece of information we know is that across the entire United States, most trails during COVID, the usage went up 40%. So that's a figure we haven't tested here because we don't have a counter on this particular trail at the moment. But we have the 2018 figure, which is an exact count, which is just shy of 100,000. If COVID never happened, it would, cross the 200,000 people trips by about 2050. And then it seems that currently trails are exceeding the normal population growth. The growth of ridership on the trails and people walking on the trails is exceeding what would have been expected if COVID didn't happen, because during COVID people got out and about because they couldn't go into enclosed spaces, so they started walking more, biking more, doing things more, and the net across the country is about a 40% increase. So that 200,000 may be too low, maybe 40% higher than that, but we don't know, right? Because we're in a phase where we're coming slowly, hopefully, out of COVID. Does that continue, or do people go back to the sofa, right? We don't know at this stage. So those are just rough feedback that in the newspaper. We only have officially the 2018 number. The rest is estimates.
Yeah. Rodney Thomas. I can tell you right now, I work for Nova Parks, and, you know, we run the WO&D trail. If you build it, they will use it. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah.
And we spend a lot of money each year on that trip. I mean, anytime that we have to close a section down just to do some repair work or something like that, I mean, we have people screaming at us.
So there's the man himself giving you better information than what I did.
I can guarantee you build it.
And that was the VCR trail specifically?
No, I'm talking about the trail that they have in like the north. I work for Nova Parks in Northern Virginia, and we have a 45-mile trail from Percyville all the way into Arlington.
Right.
And I'm telling you, they use the heck out of it. I mean, people commute on that trail.
It's the same thing, old railroad alignment.
Yes, yeah.
Right, so that's kind of what I'm thinking. I mean, people on either side are using the trail a lot.
Yes.
But how many are?
All the way through.
How many are I'm gonna take the bus so I'm gonna go all the way from Spotsylvania. That ain't 200,000 a year.
So people will use the portion that they're interested in.
Yep.
Right, and so
Yep.
connecting those portions gets to the root of my question. That's all.
Look at all
Okay.
the people that are gonna live on the bottom of that hill at Lafayette and those Ryan townhomes and homes, Dave, just in your part of the city of Fredericksburg.
Right.
Gonna use that trail to go to that Royal Farms they're gonna eventually build, boys, sorry. Or whatever's gonna be there.
Yep.
They're gonna go to downtown Fredericksburg and buy all that in there.
Okay,
And
so
all of those people that are gonna move there, and if they're gonna put other places around
the
there.
Route 3 one does
All the
seem to.
taxes are gonna go to the city, and then they're gonna be able to build more roads, they're gonna make Rupert mad. It's gonna be great.
No, I think the Route 3 one makes sense. I mean, that's.
But no, you're,
Cross
yeah,
95.
until you build the whole thing, right, they're not all gonna start using it. But I mean, how many people are gonna bike on the trail all the way downtown Fredericksburg? And so Fredericksburg has jobs like that from people that've been sponsoring, but that'll take.
I mean, that's the great thing about up north. I mean, you have Arlington, you have Falls Church, you have Fairfax, all, you know, they all came together.
Bridge that people can drive a bike up. Or aren't you gonna have to accommodate handicap, like elevators and stuff?
There'll be switchbacks.
Okay, so you do it that way?
And the route kind of.
Or a very slow grade, if you have.
Right, but I mean, you have the room to.
If you build it out of wood, it's not that expensive, and you can have a very slow grade.
Yeah, it might only be on one side, like on the southern side of that, you might be able to just grade up to the bridge. It's the other side where you'll have to figure it out.
Okay.
Anything else on the VCR trail? All right, let's talk about FY 24-29 CMAX STBG call for projects.
Great. You'll see on this slide, I'll let you gently scroll through it. Congestion mitigation, air quality, and surface transportation block grant are the two acronyms that CMAC and STBG. In your packet, you'll see listed eligible projects for each of these programs. In general, CMAC, or congestion mitigation, air quality, are projects that improve air quality. That includes intersection projects to help with the speeding up of idling vehicles waiting to turn, that's left turn lanes and right turn lanes, as well as the trail projects that we spoke about just now, the idea being that the trails provide opportunities to reduce the number of single occupancy vehicle trips on the road. STBG projects are pretty much your road widening projects, Mr. Farley's favorite, and that sort of thing. So you'll see the eligibility criteria in the early slides. There is a fairly lengthy process. We are getting additional years of CMAC and STBG funding, and the localities are going to be putting in their applications for projects which are ranked by an objective methodology recently adopted by the policy committee. So at the next Monday's meeting, the policy committee will issue the call for projects. In the next month, the applicants will be working on their applications. Then in November, the Friday before Thanksgiving week, they will submit their applications to staff. John Rideout is working on our forms that help get information for us, enable us to score the projects. We'll have a summary of all the projects that will be in hand at the end of November, and that will be information, public information to you as well.
Thank you, work over Thanksgiving.
And if you scroll down, maybe just keep on, that's good right there. We'll present to the Technical Advisory Committee in January how the scoring has shaken out, and this helps with the prioritization. Obviously, we're going to have projects whose cost exceeds the bundle of money we're going to be receiving, so those that rank the highest will be selected for funding. And then on down into the summer time frame, we'll probably have a couple of sessions to look at, we have, 4 years of funds, and then each project has about 4 years of cascading activity between design, right-of-way acquisition, and construction. So this is the mathematical iterative process, if you will, to make sure one of the rules of this program is that the money gets spent as soon as it can, that we don't have phases that are lingering, and that the money is obligated and spent in an expeditious manner. So that's sort of the process of taking the project schedules and the money that's given each year and making it all fit, again, with ideally the higher ranked project to be finished earlier in that cascading schedule. And that concludes my presentation.
STP was, Neil Holler and Spotsy County State Transportation?
Surface transportation.
So the block grant is what, all state money, or is it a mix of a bunch of stuff?
I think it's federal and the state match. In other localities or MPOs, the localities would put up the 20% match, and here in the Commonwealth, the state puts up the 20% match.
What's the status of the ones from last year?
They are
the ongoing, I guess, because you said they're phase 4, right?
Question.
There's got to be
The ones that are currently in the plan will be finished first.
Hang on a second. This is not to be confused with smart cell applications.
Right.
Smart cell applications were submitted this year. The state is scoring those.
Right.
And will tell us in the new year whether or not we've been allocated funding for this project. This is funding that's allocated directly to FAMPO, and FAMPO decides which of its own projects to allocate this money to. So we get a fixed amount. Here's your annual allocation. But it works 7 years in advance of construction. So we will be allocating money in January and February for the year 2028 and 2029. So what we want to spend money on in 2028 and 2029, that will be the projects that we get here. Projects that were funded through this process in previous years are still there.
Right.
And as we get to the 7th year, they get constructed.
Right. So, are they in the list that you guys give us of all the projects somewhere?
Yeah. So you
have identified as CMAC, SDG?
Yeah. You'll remember earlier in the year we gave you a copy of that big spreadsheet, which has all of those projects in there. But remember, we're now issuing a new call for projects. So localities can come up with additional new projects, and they can be put to FAMPO, and John over there will have a team of people who will score the project and will recommend funding to the TAC, and they will then recommend funding to the policy committee of which of those projects to give how much money.
Right.
But it's quite complex because the rules, the state's rules around what money you can give to which projects are very,
somebody else, right.
It's very complex.
How many previous phases are there of CTAC, CMAC, SDG? So you got 24, 29 here. What was has it been going back, let's go back forever?
The project, the CMAC and SDG started
a long time ago.
Decades ago. Smart Rail is new.
Yes.
smart scale is only in round 5 now, and it happens every 2 years. So smart scale is in its 10th year. This thing is going back
It's got history on it, right on the front page.
2. God, years ago. It's an annual allocation.
So it's on the thing, I'll go with it.
Hopefully I don't tip too hard just because I'm from North Carolina, but traditionally when you start preliminary engineering, the feds start a clock and you have 10 years to complete it by that point in time. Complete the project full scope. Otherwise, you're potentially on the hook to repay the feds all of 80%. And it's a reimbursement process, so you usually plan it out so that you can be kind of getting ready to go rather than spend a little bit on engineering, then go, uh-oh, we don't want to do this or whatnot, and then you're on the hook for whatever you spend.
And also, there's a new rule in Virginia, if you don't spend your money, they will, well, for smart scale, if you don't spend your smart scale money, the next time you apply for project funding, they will reduce your score by 5%. And so every time you do that, your score drops, so you eventually will get no project funded because you didn't spend the money. So there is some pressure to get the money spent and to get the project. Anyway.
Right. Do y'all know what the ballpark of how much funding is available for this?
So last time we presented you the spreadsheet, you probably won't remember the detail, but we passed the 28th money, FY28, and didn't allocate it, and that is about $4.8 million.
Okay.
We will get an additional allocation for FY29, and that will be probably in the order of the same amount of money. So we will get.
You said you parked it?
Yeah, we parked it.
So you're saving it to execute bigger projects and then?
Yes, so what I did is I asked the TAC and Policy Committee if we could fully fund the old projects that have been hanging around since before my time. There's no good giving a little bit of money to these projects and then you've got this money sitting there and you can't execute because it's not fully funded. So I asked if we could take all the old money, which has not been doing anything, allocate it to all the old projects and to get them as close to construction as possible. So we did that. We then did not allocate the FY28 money because it's a larger sum of money and the jurisdictions wanted to come up with new projects. So we parked it, which means we've got a double whammy this time around. We can allocate a much larger amount of money so people can put in bigger projects which might have a more significant impact than a small piece of sidewalk somewhere, right? So now we have a chance to entertain bigger projects. But we're going to allocate, hopefully, all of that money in one day. I wanted projects to not sit on this list forever, and I wanted the money to not sit forever. I wanted to try and get it into actual.
Any other questions on CMAQ or the block grants? Okay, moving on. October CTAC election of vice chair. I was vice chair, now I'm not vice chair, and we have a vacancy for that. So if you are interested in running for the vice chair spot, be thinking about it over the next month and be prepared to run and make your case at the October meeting. The only question I have is, do we have any limitations or requirements based on what locality you're from? Can it be anyone, or does it have to be from a particular?
If you'll recall, you amended the rules of CTAC, so built some more flexibility into it. The one thing in the current rule that's still there, if you pull it up on the screen, you can see it says that it should be from a different locality to the chairman.
And I'm from Fredericksburg.
So that's the one thing it says. But you relax the requirement that it has to rotate in a certain order, you remove that, so that's no longer there in your rules. But you did leave the requirement that it must come from a different jurisdiction, so you can't have two people from the same jurisdiction. If you scroll down, it will tell you the election of office bearers. There you go.
Okay, yeah, and there's the shall rotate. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
The chair and vice chair shall not be from the same appointing organization, and those organizations are your jurisdictions.
Gotcha. Okay. Great. So be thinking about that. I would say, just in my opinion, be someone that can show up to meetings. If you can't make it to every meeting, that's okay. We're all human. We have other things that we're doing at the same time. but if you can at least be someone that shows up to a lot of meetings, I think that's a good enough candidate for me. All right, so moving on, public comment, round 2. Anybody else with public comment?
Point of information for all of you. If you look at the Stafford map, 630 Courthouse Road, between Route 1 and 95, there are two concepts, downtown Stafford and Stafford Town Center. When you see the dirt being moved, that is downtown Stafford. It consists of a parking garage, a small park, limited retail, and primarily apartments. Stafford Town Center is a vision, much in the way of Reston Town Center or something else like that. If you go west on Courthouse Road, you'll see the new fire station and a whole bunch of woods. Stafford owns that property. Last year, by 4-3 vote, the Board of Supervisors approved a zoning that would enable Stafford Town Center to be built if they choose to do so. Now, to my knowledge, they have not yet issued a request for proposal because I don't think they know what they want or if they want something. Now, if that is built, it could incorporate anything that the Stafford Board of Supervisors wants to include, transit center and all the rest of that stuff. So it would not necessitate changing, theoretically, the existing commuter lot. But all that is strictly concept. Whether it survives is anybody's guess. But there are two different things you need to be cognizant of. One is being implemented, the other one is still being discussed. And that's what was referenced in the newspaper.
Gotcha. Thank you. Anybody else? Anybody online? Okay. Moving on, correspondence. Do we have any correspondence for the CTAC?
Oh, yes. So this is included in your pack. I just wanted to let y'all know some great communication between Larry and Jane. Jane provided some really great comments about people with disabilities, and I know she does all the time, but like these were specifically in regards to some questions from a CTAC member. So I think they're great to read through. I definitely recommend doing so. And then, like, see, that's a lot of information. And then also, we just wanted to pass along some information that was sent about the VPRA, Virginia Passenger Rail Authority, and Amtrak. At a all-time high, even before the pandemic, right? Am I right about that? Yeah. So
they exceeded the 2019 pre-pandemic ridership in the month of July by 36.5%. Of course, what the nice press release article doesn't tell you is ever since then they started putting their prices up. So.
They also, the Virginia Railway Express, VRE, is free this month, and so if you'll want to go up to DC, feel free to do so. You don't have to pay anything or provide any sort of anything.
Is that weekend also?
What's that?
Is that on the weekends also?
No. It doesn't run. That's a great...
That's when they need to do it.
Yes.
Wait, it's free Monday through Friday, but not the weekend in September?
It doesn't run on the weekends.
Okay, well, that's what I thought.
Yeah, right. VRE doesn't run on the weekends, but it is in the works at some point. You can send along your comments to VRE if you'd like. There is a survey out for VRE currently. So if y'all...
Another VRE survey. Of course.
Also, just so you know, VRE is doing a tour to VRE. It's on Friday, October 7th, and it's a bicycle dealie. It's 70 miles, 40 miles, 30 miles, and 10 miles, and it's...
Not to cycle 70 miles.
Yeah, so it seems like a really cool thing to do. It's raising awareness and financial support for research for triple-negative breast cancer, which claimed the life of a spouse of VRE's project manager in August 2021. So also a fun thing to do and a good thing to do. So just letting y'all know about that.
Chairman, there's just one of the BDOT asked us to pass this along.
Oh.
We've done it on our social media, but the Chatham Bridge is one of, is it 11 projects in the country that
12,
to win an award?
Right.
And they're asking for you to vote, and you can vote once a day per device. So you can vote on your laptop and your phone once a day, every day. However, the thing about this award is that if the Chatham Bridge project is chosen, the prize money goes to charity. So you're helping a good cause. I don't know which charity it is. We haven't heard. But all we get to do is vote on whether we think it's a great project. I personally think it's a great project. It's a great new bridge. It's a great new cycle path. And it does add value, and we can get money donated to charity if they win the award. So please, we encourage you to vote.
Great.
And so you know how quick and easy it is. You just go to this link and you scroll down and find Chatham.
Pick a project
And vote for this project, confirm vote. Voila, that's all you have to do. You could vote every 24 hours also, so.
Next.
Pretty cool. And if you're not following us on social media, do it.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, staff report time.
Staff has no reports.
I think you've met Dr. John Ryder. John's
Yes.
over there.
Last meeting.
We're hoping to employ our final, fill our final vacancy. We did some interviews today, and we're just working through those results. So hopefully, next month we'll be able to introduce our newest and final new recruit.
Great. All right. Member reports before we get started. I'd like to acknowledge our new member and like to give her an opportunity to introduce herself.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ann Palbakar. It is a pleasure to sit with you this evening, learn about what you've been working on in the past and what we're looking forward to in the future. Feel free, any information that you've read through, any proposals that you think may be of interest to me immediately, feel free to email that over. I started diving through the agenda. The first phase 1 proposal was like 160 pages, just receiving it last week. I'm like, I'm gonna try to tackle these and be on the same page with you. But whatever you think is the utmost importance of a project coming forth, feel free to send me a link and say, hey, Ann, take a look at this. Other than that, I look forward to working and growing with you. A little bit about my background. I work with HOAs and developers, so when you talk about statistics and you talk about the use of things, I'm immediately thinking, so what else is popping up around those surrounding areas? The board only knows of the developed communities with names, but they don't know about the lands that have been bought in the past. So it's always interesting to see how the growth crisis will further affect us, and what we will try to do to get ahead of that curve. Yes.
All right, thank you very much. I know that one of the things that's most helpful is once you get a handle on all the acronyms, everything kind of falls in place after that.
We're rife with acronyms.
Yeah. They gave you the handbook, right?
We do have a handbook which we'll send to you.
Good question.
We also have the long-range transportation plan is on the website. Don't expect you to read the 800 pages. There is about 3 pages at the very beginning of the page that has got all the acronyms. Yeah. So instead of writing a new document, it's actually online. You don't even need to wait for us to email it to you. You just click on there, long-range transportation plan, and you just look there for the list of abbreviations and acronyms. And it gives you their, there they all are.
Yeah.
So everybody, if you get stuck and you want to know what the hell the staff are talking about,
flashcards.
we've got every single one listed there for you, so you'll know what CMAC stands for example, and all that, all there. And it's online, so even if we got there, you can still find it.
One mess earlier.
Yeah, I'm used to direct line.
All right. I have a member report at the end, but I'd like to give anybody else a chance to do their member report first. Does anybody else have a member report?
Anybody from Spotsy?
I'm from Spotsy, I have.
Nothing else? Okay, the only thing I want to add is just, hi, I know I'm in this chair now. What changes are we going to be talking about? The only thing that I want to impress upon everybody is you'll see that in member reports, we don't have the breakdown of the working groups or subcommittees or anything like that anymore. But does that absolve you from being creative and coming up with good ideas? Absolutely not. I'd still encourage people, if you have something that's in your community or a regional idea that you think is workable, think about it, call a friend on CTAC and work on it with them. Don't call two friends because then you start to run into the whole public meeting issue. But if you have something that is important to you, no matter what category it falls on, think about it, put together something, bring it in, and we'll talk about it. And if it's something that's actionable and we can send on to a policy-making body, we'll do that if that's something that we all support as a committee. And that's really all I have to add to that. I'm also open to just looking at the bylaws again, because I know there's always this sort of confusion between things that are traditional and things that are in the bylaws. If we need to make any changes, open to that. We can have that discussion maybe after the holidays. No big rush right now. But other than that, that's all that I really needed to share. Does anybody have any other questions or comments?
We adjourn.
Motion by Rupert to adjourn.
Thomas, accept.
Second by Rodney.
Yep.
Discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you very much. See you next month.
Thanks, everyone.
Can I make it official?